What's up guys, Hfmasters here, and today we have a review on the 71764 Ninja Training Center. Set comes with 524 pieces, retails for $40 in the United States, and it is a March 1st release, although I found this at Walmart. I'm not a fan of this new thing they're doing, putting these thumb tags on $40 sets. So this set is one of the more interesting sets that they've made this year, because this set is kind of a mixed bag in terms of what it wants to be. This set is both a combiner set and a spinner gimmick set. So let's go ahead and start off with first the new spinner. So every other year it feels like we're alternating between these gimmicks. We either get a brick built thing like the arcade pods or last year's epic battle sets, or we get a spinner type deal like the 2018 Spinjitzu Master sets, Air Jitsu Flyers, that type of deal. This is very similar to the Spinjitzu Master sets, although it is slightly redesigned. Most obviously is that we are now using a more Spinjitzu type piece. This looks like the slam pieces or the legacy spinner pieces, but it's obviously much bigger. It's got a very wide frame, and it's obviously built to work with this plastic top, which is similar to the Spinjitzu Master sets, although this actually is different. Obviously the main way you can tell is that you take this off and there's no pins here. There's actually these slight ridges here right underneath. You can see where my finger's poking out. That's actually a slot, and the idea is you just take it and you can twist it on and then it just slots in place. This entire ripcord function is actually redesigned too, so let's just slide this on. And the way they redesigned this is that this entire upper section is completely new. The first and most obvious thing is that the ripcord piece itself is now a lot thinner. It's in a more circular shape. The older versions of it, going back to the Air Jitsu sets, were a lot more flat. This one, I personally like this one better. I think it just makes more sense. It's less susceptible to bending. I think it's a general improvement. And then obviously when you want to spin it, you just pull it out and it goes all over the place. It actually works really well. You can see right now from that last spin, it's still going. This thing, it really keeps it up for a long time. This is probably the best one in terms of longevity that they've done. It lasts forever, you know, like it never stops, which is pretty cool, but it's not anything groundbreaking, although generally speaking it's a pretty cool function. So now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the various structures here. And the reason I say various structures is because this thing is not just as simple as it seems. Everything here can disconnect. You got this thing, this is a separate structure. You got this thing, this is a separate structure. So all of these things are all different pieces that all connect together, which is kind of cool because you can connect things together in various ways. So I don't know if you want to do something like this. I don't know, you could have that here, this thing here. This thing doesn't connect to anything, but you know, you get different opportunities for things that you can do. But let's go ahead, let's start with this one first. So this main structure here is basically designed around the idea of working with the spinner. The way this entire thing is intended to work is that right up over here we have this rock piece. The idea is that you would place the spinner up here and then you would launch this down, and the spinner will move down through this tree trunk slide. The way they did it here, if you move to the back, we have a little gear. Just rotate that to the side here and the rock goes down. Now in theory this works pretty good, but in practice it's hit or miss. You get a lot of times where it just straight up flies off to the side of it and misses the slide altogether. Sometimes it just gets stuck on there, and occasionally it actually works. Now honestly, I'm not big on this personally. I would just say use the ripcord to do it, because the ripcord works really well. This thing was mainly designed to use the ripcord anyways. Or you can just, you know, straight up put a minifigure in there, which also works pretty decently. But I like the idea here a lot, and I think this is an overall solid build. And speaking of launching the spinner, this set also comes with this build, which is also based around the idea of launching the spinner. The way this one works, you got your basket up here once again, and you just flick this thing around, and the idea is it's gonna knock it out. This one, I don't like this one at all, to be honest. I have not got it to work really at all. You see, it just falls flat. I like the idea, but I've never gotten this thing to work. Maybe, you know, maybe you need to get a lot of power in this thing, but I don't know. It doesn't work that well for me. This one, once again, I'd say just you're better off using the actual ripcord instead of just trying to make this thing work. These three smaller builds are also pretty good. This first one right here is fairly simple. This is more of a what you see is what you get thing. You've got a sword on the side here for Zane, but other than that, it's really just a door that looks nice. There's the back of it. There's nothing really there. Yeah, it's a what you see is what you get. This other one, this is a snake target. The idea here is that you launch a minifigure at here and you knock the snake down. I do think that they should have designed it a little bit differently. The way it's connected right now is that it's connected on 2 studs, and that's a little bit too strong of a connection a lot of the time. So a lot of times you can hit it and it'll just stay on, but I like the idea of it. And then the last one is a punching bag, and this one, obviously you got the punching bag which goes side to side, but there's also this spinning tower, and this one, the idea is once again that you can knock it off. This one's only on 1 stud, so this one works a lot easier, and there also is a small little clear piece down here so you can connect the minifigure and act like you're kicking the bag, which is solid stuff. And lastly, we have my personal favorite one, the little snake dummy build. This thing is fairly simple. It's just a sort of mech-like build, so, you know, legs on the bottom, arm, head that can move up and down, and then waist articulation. It's fairly simple, but I actually think it adds a pretty good amount of value because it actually is something that you can sort of battle against. It kind of gives you a villain figure outside of the one villain minifigure that comes in the set, which we'll show off a little bit later. But it's a fairly simple thing, but I actually think it does add a pretty good amount, especially because, you know, going up against this spinner, this is actually something that, you know, could realistically stand a chance, because minifigures have no shot against something like this, but this, it's a little bit bigger, it's got more weight to it. You could kind of see it competing. And I would be remiss if I didn't at least show off that you can combine this set with the Ninja Dojo Temple. Now, this is just a pretty basic thing. I've got the main build and the snake build on the side, and then I've got these little pieces over here. It doesn't necessarily connect as well as you would think, because a lot of the connections are either facing towards the back, so this right now isn't connected, and if I were to connect it, it would face this way, or I would have to remove this entire brick section so I could connect it down over here in this section right there. So it's not necessarily as great as you would think in terms of purely connecting it, but all of these general pieces are designed so similarly, they have such a similar aesthetic all the way around that it doesn't really matter that much. It all fits in together and it looks nice. I think this is a really solid thing. Oh, and also while we're here, I forgot to mention this side build that comes with the set. So we've got a nice little square that comes with 2 snakes and some flames. So, you know, there you go. The set does come with 3 minifigures going from left to right. We have Zane, Bo Destructor, and Jay. None of these minifigures are exclusive. These are the same minifigures that released earlier on in January, so there isn't anything here that's particularly new or interesting. It's just a simple minifigure selection, but generally speaking, I do think it's good. Also, since I haven't really talked about it before, I will say I do like that they did this thing with this particular wave where, you know, the weapons match the secondary color. So Jay, you can see it especially with the yellow arm and the yellow blade along with the yellow on the hood. I think that's just a cool little thing they did with the Ninja minifigures this year. This set is honestly a really hard set for me to wrap my head around in terms of actual opinion, because here's the deal with this set. I really like how this set can combine with the dojo, and I think this set functions pretty well with the spinner, and I like the spinner gimmick a lot. I think it's a major improvement on the previous, basically, versions of it. Like, this is basically just a Spinjitzu Master sets, but better. But here's the thing with that. Those aren't necessarily pros for this set, because if you think about it, it's like, yeah, the spinner's really good, but I could just go buy 3 of them for $30, which is cheaper than buying this set for $40. Or I could buy 1 for $10 and basically get the same thing. And then you've got the dojo, and yeah, that combines really well with the dojo, but that's an extra $100 before you can even consider doing it. So when it comes down to just this set, and just this set by itself, it's really gimmicky. A lot of this stuff doesn't necessarily work that well. You've got this thing right here, which this thing just sucks. This thing is just not good. The idea is that you combine it with the snake pit and even still it doesn't work that well. I just think you could have taken the pieces and made something better out of there, because even still, I mean, the idea, right, you jump over the snake pit. Well, I could take just the regular spinner and I could jump over the snake pit and it would be spinning after it, which is a million times cooler than hopping it over and then it just falls flat on its face. The other things, you've got the targets, those generally work pretty good. The snake thing obviously is hit or miss, it doesn't fall off as much. And then you've got the slide, which works, again, it's hit or miss. I find that it's really inconsistent. You've got the branch in the front, which is inconsistent, so I generally like to use the gear, but it does work sometimes. Honestly, the best design is that you can put the spinner underneath in the little cave thing and it holds in place. but you know, no one cares about that. So this is a little bit of a hit or miss set in terms of things, but I mean, I would recommend getting it if you really want it. It's not a bad set by any means, but you can get all the same stuff elsewhere. But that's going to be it. Thank you guys for watching. Until next time, I will see you guys later.